Hector and Ajax fight. Hector is getting worsted when night comes on and parts them. They exchange presents. The burial of the dead, and the building of a wall round their ships by the Achaeans. The Achaeans buy their wine of Agamemnon and Menelaus. With these words Hector passed through the gates, and his brother Alexandrus with him, both eager for the fray. As when heaven sends a breeze to sailors who have long looked for one in vain, and have laboured at their oars till they are faint with toil, even so welcome was the sight of these two heroes to the Trojans. Thereon Alexandrus killed Menestheus, the son of Areithus, who lived in Arne, and was the son of Areithus the mace-man, and of Philomedusa. Hector threw a spear at Aeneas, and struck him dead with a wound in the neck under the bronze rim of his helmet. Glaucus, moreover, son of Hippolochus, captain of the Lycians, in hard hand-to-hand fight smote Ephenus, son of Dexius, on the shoulder, as he was springing on to his chariot behind his fleet mares. So he fell to earth from the car, and there was no life left in him. When, therefore, Minerva saw these men making havoc of the Argives, she darted down to Iliad from the summits of Olympus, and Apollo, who was looking on from Pergamus, went out to meet her, for he wanted the Trojans to be victorious. The pair met by the oak tree, and King Apollo, son of Jove, was first to speak. "What would you have," said he, "daughter of great Jove, that your proud spirit has sent you hither from Olympus? Have you no pity upon the Trojans, and would you incline the scales of victory in favour of the Danaans? Let me persuade you, for it will be better thus. Stay the combat for today, but let them renew the fight hereafter, till they compass the doom of Iliad, since you goddesses have made up your mind to destroy the city." And Minerva answered, "So be it, Far Darter. It was in this mind that I came down from Olympus to the Trojans and Achaeans. Tell me then, how do you propose to end this present fighting?" Apollo, son of Jove, replied, "Let us incite great Hector to challenge some one of the Danaans in single combat. On this the Achaeans will be shamed into finding a man who will fight him." Minerva assented, and Helenus, son of Priam, divined the counsel of the gods. He therefore went up to Hector and said, "Hector, son of Priam, peer of gods in council, I am your brother. Let me then persuade you. Bid the other Trojans and Achaeans, all of them, take their seats, and challenge the best man among the Achaeans to meet you in single combat. I have heard the voice of the ever-living gods, and the hour of your doom is not yet come." Hector was glad when he heard this saying, and went in among the Trojans, grasping his spear by the middle to hold them back, and they all sat down. Agamemnon also bade the Achaeans be seated. But Minerva and Apollo, in the likeness of vultures, perched on Father Jove's high oak tree, proud of their men, and the ranks sat close ranged together, bristling with shield and helmet and spear. As when the rising west wind furs the face of the sea, and the waters grow dark beneath it, so sat the companies of Trojans and Achaeans upon the plain. And Hector spoke thus: "Hear me, Trojans and Achaeans, that I may speak even as I am minded. Jove on his high throne has brought our oaths and covenants to nothing, and foreshadows ill for both of us, till you either take the towers of Troy, or are yourselves vanquished at your ships. The princes of the Achaeans are here present in the midst of you. Let him that will fight me stand forward as your champion against Hector. Thus I say, and may Jove be witness between us. If your champion slay me, let him strip me of my armour and take it to your ships, but let him send my body home, that the Trojans and their wives may give me my dues of fire when I am dead. In like manner, if Apollo vouchsafe me glory, and I slay your champion, I will strip him of his armour and take it to the city of Iliad, where I will hang it in the temple of Apollo, but I will give up his body, that the Achaeans may bury him at their ships, and then build him a mound by the wide waters of the Hellespont. Then will one say hereafter, as he sails his ship over the sea, This is the monument of one who died long since, a champion, who was slain by mighty Hector. Thus will one say, and my fame shall not be lost." Thus did he speak, but they all held their peace, ashamed to decline the challenge, yet fearing to accept it, till at last Menelaus rose and rebuked them, for he was angry. "Alas," he cried, "vain braggarts! Women, forsooth, not men! Double dyed indeed will be the stain upon us if no man of the Danaans will now face Hector. May you be turned every man of you into earth and water as you sit spiritless and inglorious in your places. I will myself go out against this man, but the upshot of the fight will be from on high in the hands of the immortal gods." With these words he put on his armour, and then, O Menelaus, your life would have come to an end at the hands of Hector, for he was far better the man, had not the princes of the Achaeans sprung upon you and checked you. King Agamemnon caught him by the right hand and said, "Menelaus, you are mad. A truce to this folly. Be patient in spite of passion. Do not think of fighting a man so much stronger than yourself as Hector, son of Priam, who is feared by many another as well as you. Even Achilles, who is far more doughty than you are, shrank from meeting him in battle. Set down your own people, and the Achaeans will send some other champion to fight Hector. Fearless and fond of battle though he be, I ween his knees will bend gladly under him if he comes out alive from the hurly-burly of this fight." With these words of reasonable counsel he persuaded his brother, whereon his squires gladly stripped the armour from off his shoulder. Then Nestor rose and spoke. "Of a truth," said he, "the Achaean land is fallen upon evil times. The old knight Peleus, counsellor and orator among the Myrmidons, loved, when I was in his house, to question me concerning the race and lineage of all the Argives. How would it not grieve him could he hear of them as now quailing before Hector? Many a time would he lift his hands in prayer that his soul might leave his body and go down within the house of Hades. Would, by Father Jove, Minerva, and Apollo, that I was still young and strong, as when the Pylians and Arcadians were gathered in fight by the rapid river Celadon under the walls of Phaia, and round about the waters of the river Iardanus. The godlike hero Ereuthalion stood forward as their champion, with the armour of King Areithus upon his shoulders, Areithus, whom men and women had surnamed the Mace Man, because he fought neither with bow nor spear, but broke the battalions of the foe with his iron mace. Lycurgus killed him, not in fair fight, but by entrapping him in a narrow way where his mace served him in no stead. For Lycurgus was too quick for him, and speared him through the middle, so he fell to earth on his back. Lycurgus then spoiled him of the armour which Mars had given him, and bore it in battle thenceforward. But when he grew old and stayed at home, he gave it to his faithful squire Ereuthalion, who in this same armour challenged the foremost men among us. The others quaked and quailed, but my high spirit bade me fight him, though none other would venture. I was the youngest man of them all, but when I fought him Minerva vouchsafed me victory. He was the biggest and strongest man that ever I killed, and covered much ground as he lay sprawling upon the earth. Would that I was still young and strong as I then was, for the son of Priam would then soon find one who would face him. But you, foremost among the whole host though you be, have none of you any stomach for fighting Hector." Thus did the old man rebuke them, and forthwith 9 men started to their feet. Foremost of all uprose King Agamemnon, and after him brave Diomed, the son of Tydeus. Next were the 2 Ajaxes, men clothed in valour as with a garment, and then Idomeneus and Meriones his brother in arms. After these Eurypylus, son of Euaemon, Thoas, the son of Adramon, and Ulysses also rose. Then Nestor, knight of Gerene, again spoke, saying, "Cast lots among you to see who shall be chosen. If he come alive out of this fight, he will have done good service alike to his own soul and to the Achaeans." Thus he spoke, and when each of them had marked his lot and had thrown it into the helmet of Agamemnon, son of Atreus, the people lifted their hands in prayer. And thus would one of them say, as he looked into the vault of heaven, "Father Jove, grant that the lot fall on Ajax, or on the son of Tydeus, or upon the king of rich Mycenae himself." As they were speaking, Nestor, knight of Gerene, shook the helmet, and from it there fell the very lot which they wanted, the lot of Ajax. The herald bore it about, and showed it to all the chieftains of the Achaeans, going from left to right, but they none of them owned it. When, however, in due course he reached the man who had written upon it, and had put it into the helmet, brave Ajax held out his hand, and the herald gave him the lot. When Ajax saw his mark, he knew it, and was glad. He threw it to the ground, and said, "My friends, the lot is mine, and I rejoice, for I shall vanquish Hector. I will put on my armour. Meanwhile pray to King Jove in silence among yourselves, that the Trojans may not hear you, or aloud if you will, for we fear no man. None shall overcome me, neither by force nor cunning, for I was born and bred in Salamis, and can hold my own in all things." With this they fell praying to King Jove, the son of Saturn, and thus would one of them say as he looked into the vault of heaven, "Father Jove, that rulest from Ida, most glorious in power, vouchsafe victory to Ajax, and let him win great glory. But if you wish well to Hector also, and would protect him, grant to each of them equal fame and prowess." Thus they prayed, and Ajax armed himself in his suit of gleaming bronze. When he was in full array, he sprang forward, as monstrous Mars when he takes part among men whom Jove has sent fighting with one another. Even so did huge Ajax, bulwark of the Achaeans, spring forward with a grim smile on his face as he brandished his long spear and strode onward. The Argives were elated as they beheld him, but the Trojans trembled in every limb, and the heart even of Hector beat quickly. But he could not now retreat and withdraw into the ranks behind him, for he had been the challenger. Ajax came up bearing his shield in front of him like a wall, a shield of bronze with 7 folds of oxhide, the work of Tychius, who lived in Hyla and was by far the best worker in leather. He had made it with the hides of 7 full-fed bulls, and over these he had set an 8th layer of bronze. Holding this shield before him, Ajax, son of Telamon, came close up to Hector and menaced him, saying, "Hector, you shall now learn, man to man, what kind of champions the Danaans have among them, even beside lion-hearted Achilles, cleaver of the ranks of men. He now abides at the ships in anger with Agamemnon, shepherd of his people. But there are many of us who are well able to face you. Therefore begin the fight." And Hector answered, "Noble Ajax, son of Telamon, captain of the host, treat me not as though I were some puny boy or woman that cannot fight. I have been long used to the blood and butcheries of battle. I am quick to turn my leathern shield either to right or left, for this I deem the main thing in battle. I can charge among the chariots and horsemen, and in hand-to-hand fighting can delight the heart of Mars. Howbeit, I would not take such a man as you off his guard, but I will smite you openly if I can." He poised his spear as he spoke, and hurled it from him. It struck the 7-fold shield with its outermost layer, the 8th, which was of bronze, and went through 6 of the layers, but in the 7th hide it stayed. Then Ajax threw in his turn, and struck the round shield of the son of Priam. The terrible spear went through his gleaming shield, and pressed onward through his cuirass of cunning workmanship. It pierced the shirt against his side, but he swerved and thus saved his life. They then each of them drew out the spear from his shield, and fell on one another like savage lions or wild boars of great strength and endurance. The son of Priam struck the middle of Ajax's shield, but the bronze did not break, and the point of his dart was turned. Ajax then sprang forward and pierced the shield of Hector. The spear went through it and staggered him as he was springing forward to attack. It gashed his neck, and the blood came pouring from the wound, but even so Hector did not cease fighting. He gave ground, and with his brawny hand seized a stone, rugged and huge, that was lying upon the plain. With this he struck the shield of Ajax on the boss that was in its middle, so that the bronze rang again. But Ajax in turn caught up a far larger stone, swung it aloft, and hurled it with prodigious force. This millstone of a rock broke Hector's shield inwards, and threw him down on his back, with the shield crushing him under it, but Apollo raised him at once. Thereon they would have hacked at one another in close combat with their swords, had not heralds, messengers of gods and men, come forward, one from the Trojans and the other from the Achaeans, Talthybius and Idaeus, both of them honourable men. These parted them with their staves, and the good herald Idaeus said, "My sons, fight no longer. You are both of you valiant, and both are dear to Jove. We know this, but night is now falling, and the behests of night may not be well gainsaid." Ajax, son of Telamon, answered, "Idaeus, bid Hector say so, for it was he that challenged our princes. Let him speak first, and I will accept his saying." Then Hector said, "Ajax, heaven has vouchsafed you stature and strength and judgment, and in wielding the spear you excel all others of the Achaeans. Let us for this day cease fighting. Hereafter we will fight anew, till heaven decide between us, and give victory to one or to the other. Night is now falling, and the behests of night may not be well gainsaid. Gladden then the hearts of the Achaeans at your ships, and more especially those of your own followers and clansmen, while I, in the great city of King Priam, bring comfort to the Trojans and their women, who vie with one another in their prayers on my behalf. Let us, moreover, exchange presents, that it may be said among the Achaeans and Trojans, they fought with might and main, but were reconciled and parted in friendship." On this he gave Ajax a silver-studded sword with its sheath and leathern baldric, and in return Ajax gave him a girdle dyed with purple. Thus they parted, the one going to the host of the Achaeans, and the other to that of the Trojans, who rejoiced when they saw their hero come to them safe and unharmed from the strong hands of mighty Ajax. They led him, therefore, to the city as one that had been saved beyond their hopes. On the other side, the Achaeans brought Ajax, elated with victory, to Agamemnon. When they reached the quarters of the son of Atreus, Agamemnon sacrificed for them a 5-year-old bull in honour of Jove, the son of Saturn. They flayed the carcass, made it ready, and divided it into joints. These they cut carefully up into smaller pieces, putting them on the spits, roasting them sufficiently, and then drawing them off. When they had done all this, and had prepared the feast, they ate it, and every man had his full and equal share, so that all was satisfied, and King Agamemnon gave Ajax some slices cut lengthways down the loin as a mark of special honour. As soon as they had had enough to eat and drink, old Nestor, whose counsel was ever truest, began to speak. With all sincerity and good will, therefore, he addressed them thus: "Son of Atreus and other chieftains, inasmuch as many of the Achaeans are now dead, whose blood Mars has shed by the banks of the Scamander, and their souls have gone down to the house of Hades, it will be well when morning comes that we should cease fighting. We will then wheel our dead together with oxen and mules, and burn them not far from the ships, that when we sail hence we may take the bones of our comrades home to their children. Hard by the funeral pyre we will build a barrow that shall be raised from the plain for all in common. Near this let us set about building a high wall to shelter ourselves and our ships, and let it have well-made gates, that there may be a way through them for our chariots. Close outside we will dig a deep trench all round to keep off both horse and foot, that the Trojan chieftains may not bear hard upon us." Thus he spoke, and the princes shouted in applause. Meanwhile the Trojans held a council, angry and full of discord, on the Acropolis by the gates of King Priam's palace, and wise Antenor spoke. "Hear me," he said, "Trojans, Dardanians, and allies, that I may speak even as I am minded. Let us give up Argive Helen and her wealth to the sons of Atreus, for we are now fighting in violation of our solemn covenants, and shall not prosper till we have done as I say." He then sat down, and Alexandrus, husband of lovely Helen, rose to speak. "Antenor," said he, "your words are not to my liking. You can find a better saying than this if you will. If, however, you have spoken in good earnest, then indeed has heaven robbed you of your reason. I will speak plainly, and hereby notify to the Trojans that I will not give up the woman, but the wealth that I brought home with her from Argos I will restore, and will add yet further of my own." On this, when Paris had spoken and taken his seat, Priam of the race of Dardanus, peer of gods in council, rose, and with all sincerity and goodwill addressed them thus: "Hear me, Trojans, Dardanians, and allies, that I may speak even as I am minded. Get your suppers now as hitherto throughout the city, but keep your watches and be wakeful. At daybreak let Idaeus go to the ships, and tell Agamemnon and Menelaus, sons of Atreus, the saying of Alexandrus, through whom this quarrel has come about. And let him also be instant with them, that they now cease fighting till we burn our dead. Hereafter we will fight anew till heaven decide between us, and give victory to one or to the other." Thus did he speak, and they did even as he had said. They took supper in their companies, and at daybreak Idaeus went his way to the ships. He found the Danaans, servants of Mars, in council at the stern of Agamemnon's ship, and took his place in the midst of them. "Son of Atreus," he said, "and princes of the Achaean host, Priam and the other noble Trojans have sent me to tell you the saying of Alexandrus, through whom this quarrel has come about, if so be that you may find it acceptable. All the treasure he took with him in his ships to Troy, would that he had sooner perished, he will restore, and will add yet further of his own. But he will not give up the wedded wife of Menelaus, though the Trojans would have him do so. Priam bade me inquire further if you will cease fighting till we burn our dead. Hereafter we will fight anew, till heaven decide between us, and give victory to one or to the other. They all held their peace, but presently Diomed of the loud war cry spoke, saying, Let there be no taking, neither treasure nor yet Helen, for even a child may see that the doom of the Trojans is at hand. The sons of the Achaeans shouted applause at the words that Diomed had spoken, and thereon King Agamemnon said to Idaeus, Idaeus, you have heard the answer the Achaeans make you, and I with them. But as concerning the dead, I give you leave to burn them, for when men are once dead, there should be no grudging them the rights of fire. Let Jove, the mighty husband of Juno, be witness to this covenant. As he spoke, he upheld his sceptre in the sight of all the gods, and Idaeus went back to the strong city of Ilios. The Trojans and Dardanians were gathered in council, waiting his return. When he came, he stood in their midst and delivered his message. As soon as they heard it, they set about their twofold labour, some to gather the corpses, and others to bring in wood. The Argives, on their part, also hastened from their ships, some to gather the corpses, and others to bring in wood. The sun was beginning to beat upon the fields, fresh risen into the vault of heaven from the slow, still currents of deep Oceanus, when the two armies met. They could hardly recognize their dead, but they washed the clotted gore from off them, shed tears over them, and lifted them upon their wagons. Priam had forbidden the Trojans to wail aloud, so they heaped their dead sadly and silently upon the pyre, and having burned them, went back to the city of Ilios. The Achaeans, in like manner, heaped their dead sadly and silently on the pyre, and having burned them, went back to their ships. Now in the twilight, when it was not yet dawn, chosen bands of the Achaeans were gathered round the pyre, and built one barrow that was raised in common for all, and hard by this they built a high wall to shelter themselves and their ships. They gave it strong gates, that there might be a way through them for their chariots, and close outside it they dug a trench, deep and wide, and they planted it within with stakes. Thus did the Achaeans toil, and the gods, seated by the side of Jove, the lord of lightning, marvelled at their great work. But Neptune, lord of the earthquake, spoke, saying, Father Jove, what mortal in the whole world will again take the gods into his counsel? See you not how the Achaeans have built a wall about their ships, and driven a trench all round it, without offering hecatombs to the gods? The fame of this wall will reach as far as dawn itself, and men will no longer think anything of the one which Phoebus Apollo and myself built with so much labour for Laomedon. Jove was displeased, and answered, What, O shaker of the earth, are you talking about? A god less powerful than yourself might be alarmed at what they are doing, but your fame reaches as far as dawn itself. Surely when the Achaeans have gone home with their ships, you can shatter their wall and fling it into the sea. You can cover the beach with sand again, and the great wall of the Achaeans will then be utterly effaced. Thus did they converse, and by sunset the work of the Achaeans was completed. They then slaughtered oxen at their tents and got their supper. Many ships had come with wine from Lemnos, sent by Euneus the son of Jason, born to him by Hypsipyle. The son of Jason freighted them with 10,000 measures of wine, which he sent specially to the sons of Atreus, Agamemnon and Menelaus. From this supply the Achaeans bought their wine, some with bronze, some with iron, some with hides, some with whole heifers, and some again with captives. They spread a goodly banquet, and feasted the whole night through, as also did the Trojans and their allies in the city. But all the time Jove boded them ill, and roared with his portentous thunder. Pale fear got hold upon them, and they spilled the wine from their cups onto the ground, nor did any dare drink till he had made offerings to the most mighty son of Saturn. Then they laid themselves down to rest, and enjoyed the boon of sleep. Jove forbids the gods to interfere further. There is an even fight till midday, but then Jove inclines the scales of victory in favour of the Trojans, who eventually chase the Achaeans within their wall. Juno and Minerva set out to help the Trojans. Jove sends Iris to turn them back, but later on he promises Juno that she shall have her way in the end. Hector's triumph is stayed by nightfall. The Trojans bivouac on the plain. Now when morning, clad in her robe of saffron, had begun to suffuse light over the earth, Jove called the gods in council on the topmost crest of serrated Olympus. Then he spoke, and all the other gods gave ear. "Hear me," said he, "gods and goddesses, that I may speak even as I am minded. Let none of you, neither goddesses nor god, try to cross me, but obey me, every one of you, that I may bring this matter to an end. If I see anyone acting a part and helping either Trojans or Danaans, he shall be beaten inordinately ere he come back again to Olympus, or I will hurl him down into dark Tartarus, far into the deepest pit under the earth, where the gates are iron and the floor bronze, as far beneath Hades as heaven is high above the earth, that you may learn how much the mightiest I am among you. Try me and find out for yourselves. Hangs me a golden chain from heaven, and lay hold of it, all of you, gods and goddesses together, tug as you will not drag Jove, the supreme counsellor, from heaven to earth. But were I to pull at it myself, I should draw you up with earth and sea into the bargain. Then would I bind the chain about some pinnacle of Olympus, and leave you all dangling in the mid-firmament. So far am I above all others, either of gods or men." They were frightened, and all of them held their peace, for he had spoken masterfully. But at last Minerva answered, "Father, son of Saturn, king of kings, we all know that your might is not to be gainsaid, but we are also sorry for the Danaan warriors, who are perishing and coming to a bad end. We will, however, since you so bid us, refrain from actual fighting, but we will make serviceable suggestions to the Argives, that they may not all of them perish in your displeasure." Jove smiled at her and answered, "Take heart, my child, Trito-born. I am not really in earnest, and I wish to be kind to you." With this he yoked his fleet horses, with hoofs of bronze and manes of glittering gold. He girded himself also with gold about the body, seized his gold whip, and took his seat in his chariot. Thereon he lashed his horses, and they flew forth, nothing loath, midway twixt earth and starry heaven. After a while he reached many-fountained Ida, mother of wild beasts, and Gargarus, where are his grove and fragrant altar. There the father of gods and men stayed his horses, took them from the chariot, and hid them in a thick cloud. Then he took his seat, all glorious, upon the topmost crests, looking down upon the city of Troy and the ships of the Achaeans. The Achaeans took their morning meal hastily at the ships, and afterwards put on their armour. The Trojans, on the other hand, likewise armed themselves throughout the city, fewer in numbers, but nevertheless eager perforce to do battle for their wives and children. All the gates were flung wide open, and horse and foot sallied forth with the tramp as of a great multitude. When they were got together in one place, shield clashed with shield, and spear with spear, in the conflict of mail-clad men. Mighty was the din as the bossed shields pressed hard on one another. Death, cry and shout of triumph of slain and slayers, and the earth ran red with blood. Now, so long as the day waxed and it was still morning, their weapons beat against one another, and the people fell. But when the sun had reached mid-heaven, the sire of all balanced his golden scales, and put two fates of death within them, one for the Trojans and the other for the Achaeans. He took the balance by the middle, and when he lifted it up, the day of the Achaeans sank. The death-fraught scale of the Achaeans settled down upon the ground, while that of the Trojans rose heavenwards. Then he thundered aloud from Ida, and sent the glare of his lightning upon the Achaeans. When they saw this, pale fear fell upon them, and they were sore afraid. Idomeneus dared not stay, nor yet Agamemnon, nor did the two Ajaxes, servants of Mars, hold their ground. Nestor, knight of Gerene, alone stood firm, bulwark of the Achaeans. Not of his own will, but one of his horses was disabled. Alexandrus, husband of lovely Helen, had hit it with an arrow just on the top of its head, where the mane begins to grow away from the skull, a very deadly place. The horse bounded in his anguish as the arrow pierced his brain, and his struggles threw others into confusion. The old man instantly began cutting the traces with his sword, but Hector's fleet horses bore down upon him through the rout with their bold charioteer, even Hector himself, and the old man would have perished there and then had not Diomed been quick to mark, and with a loud cry called Ulysses to help him. "Ulysses," he cried, "noble son of Laertes, where are you flying to, with your back turned like a coward? See that you are not struck with a spear between the shoulders. Stay here and help me to defend Nestor from this man's furious onset." Ulysses would not give ear, but sped onward to the ships of the Achaeans, and the son of Tydeus, flinging himself alone into the thick of the fight, took his stand before the horses of the son of Neleus. "Sir," said he, "these young warriors are pressing you hard. Your force is spent, and age is heavy upon you. Your squire is naught, and your horses are slow to move. Mount my chariot and see what the horses of Tros can do, how cleverly they can scud hither and thither over the plain, either in flight or in pursuit. I took them from the hero Aeneas. Let our squires attend to your own steeds, but let us drive mine straight at the Trojans, that Hector may learn how furiously I too can wield my spear." Nestor, knight of Gerene, hearkened to his words. Thereon the doughty squires, Sthenelus and kind-hearted Eurymedon, saw to Nestor's horses, while the two both mounted Diomed's chariot. Nestor took the reins in his hands and lashed the horses on. They were soon close up with Hector, and the son of Tydeus aimed a spear at him as he was charging full speed towards them. He missed him, but struck his charioteer and squire Eniopius, son of noble Thebeus, in the breast by the nipple, while the reins were in his hands, so that he died there and then, and the horses swerved as he fell headlong from the chariot. Hector was greatly grieved at the loss of his charioteer, but let him lie for all his sorrow, while he went in quest of another driver. Nor did his steeds have to go long without one, for he presently found brave Archeptolemus, the son of Iphitus, and made him get up behind the horses, giving the reins into his hand. All had then been lost, and no help for it, for they would have been penned up in Iliad like sheep, had not the sire of gods and men been quick to mark, and hurled a fiery, flaming thunderbolt, which fell just in front of Diomed's horses with a flare of burning brimstone. The horses were frightened, and tried to back beneath the car, while the reins dropped from Nestor's hands. Then he was afraid, and said to Diomed, "Son of Tydeus, turn your horses in flight. See you not that the hand of Jove is against you? Today he vouchsafes victory to Hector. Tomorrow, if it so please him, he will again grant it to ourselves. No man, however brave, may thwart the purpose of Jove, for he is far stronger than any." Diomed answered, "All that you have said is true. There is grief, however, which pierces me to the very heart, for Hector will talk among the Trojans and say, 'The son of Tydeus fled before me to the ships.' This is the vaunt he will make, and may earth then swallow me." "Son of Tydeus," replied Nestor, "what mean you? Though Hector say that you are a coward, the Trojans and Dardanians will not believe him, nor yet the wives of the mighty warriors whom you have laid low." So saying, he turned the horses back through the thick of the battle, and with a cry that rent the air, the Trojans and Hector rained their darts after them. Hector shouted to him and said, "Son of Tydeus, the Danaans have done you honour hitherto as regards your place at table, the meals they give you, and the filling of your cup with wine. Henceforth they will despise you, for you are become no better than a woman. Be off, girl and coward that you are. You shall not scale our walls through any flinching on my part. Neither shall you carry off our wives in your ships, for I will kill you with my own hand." The son of Tydeus was in two minds whether or no to turn his horse round again and fight him. Thrice did he doubt, and thrice did Jove thunder from the heights of Ida in token to the Trojans that he would turn the battle in their favour. Hector then shouted to them and said, "Trojans, Lycians, and Dardanians, lovers of close fighting, be men, my friends, and fight with might and with main. I see that Jove is minded to vouchsafe victory and great glory to myself, while he will deal destruction upon the Danaans. Fools, for having thought of building this weak and worthless wall! It shall not stay my fury. My horses will spring lightly over their trench, and when I am at their ships, forget not to bring me fire that I may burn them, while I slaughter the Argives, who will be all dazed and bewildered by the smoke." Then he cried to his horses, "Xanthus and Podargus, and you, Aethon and goodly Lampus, pay me for your keep now, and for all the honey-sweet corn with which Andromache, daughter of great Eetion, has fed you, for she has mixed wine and water for you to drink whenever you would, before doing so even for me, who am her own husband. Haste in pursuit, that we may take the shield of Nestor, the fame of which ascends to heaven, for it is of solid gold, arm-rods and all, and that we may strip from the shoulders of Diomed the cuirass which Vulcan made him. Could we take these two things, the Achaeans would set sail for their ships this self-same night. Thus did he vaunt, but Queen Juno made high Olympus quake as she shook with rage upon her throne. Then she said to the mighty god of Neptune, "What now, wide-ruling lord of the earthquake? Can you find no compassion in your heart for the dying Danaans, who bring you many a welcome offering to Hellas and to Aegae? Wish them well, then. If all of us who are with the Danaans were to drive the Trojans back and keep Jove from helping them, he would have to sit there sulking alone on Ida." King Neptune was greatly troubled and answered, "Juno, rash of tongue, what are you talking about? We other gods must not set ourselves against Jove, for he is far stronger than we are." Thus did they converse, but the whole space enclosed by the ditch, from the ships even to the wall, was filled with horses and warriors who were pent up there by Hector, son of Priam, now that the hand of Jove was with him. He would even have set fire to the ships and burned them, had not Queen Juno put it into the mind of Agamemnon to bestir himself and to encourage the Achaeans. To this end he went round the ships and tents, carrying a great purple cloak, and took his stand by the huge black hull of Ulysses' ship, which was middlemost of all. It was from this place that his voice would carry farthest, on the one hand towards the tents of Ajax, son of Telamon, and on the other towards those of Achilles, for these two heroes, well assured of their own strength, had valorously drawn up their ships at the two ends of the line. From this spot, then, with a voice that could be heard afar, he shouted to the Danaans, saying, "Argives, shame on you, cowardly creatures, brave in semblance only! Where are now our vaunts that we should prove victorious, the vaunts we made so vaingloriously in Lemnos, when we ate the flesh of horned cattle and filled our mixing bowls to the brim? You vowed that each of you would stand against 100 or 200 men, and now you prove no match even for one, for Hector, who will be ere long setting our ships in a blaze. Father Jove, did you ever so ruin a great king and rob him so utterly of his greatness? Yet when to my sorrow I was coming hither, I never let my ship pass your altars without offering the fat and thigh bones of heifers upon every one of them, so eager was I to sack the city of Troy. Vouchsafe me then this prayer. Suffer us to escape at any rate with our lives, and let not the Achaeans be so utterly vanquished by the Trojans." Thus did he pray, and Father Jove, pitying his tears, vouchsafed him that his people should live, not die. Forthwith he sent them an eagle, most unfailingly portentous of all birds, with a young fawn in its talons. The eagle dropped the fawn by the altar on which the Achaeans sacrificed to Jove, the lord of omens. When, therefore, the people saw that the bird had come from Jove, they sprang more fiercely upon the Trojans and fought more boldly. There was no man of all the many Danaans who could then boast that he had driven his horses over the trench and gone forth to fight sooner than the son of Tydeus. Long before anyone else could do so, he slew an armed warrior of the Trojans, Agelaus, the son of Phradmon. He had turned his horses in flight, but the spear struck him in the back midway between his shoulder and went right through his chest, and his armour rang rattling round him as he fell forward from his chariot. After him came Agamemnon and Menelaus, sons of Atreus, the two Ajaxes, clothed in valour as with a garment, Idomeneus and his companion in arms Meriones, peer of murderous Mars, and Eurypylus, the brave son of Euaemon. Ninth came Teucer with his bow, and took his place under cover of the shield of Ajax, son of Telamon. When Ajax lifted his shield, Teucer would peer round, and when he had hit any one in the throng, the man would fall dead. Then Teucer would hie back to Ajax as a child to its mother, and again duck down under his shield. Which of the Trojans did brave Teucer first kill? Orsilochus, and then Ormenus, and Ophelestes, Dator, Chromius, and godlike Lysiphontes, Amapion, son of Polyamon, and Melanippus. All these in turn did he lay low upon the earth, and King Agamemnon was glad when he saw him making havoc of the Trojans with his mighty bow. He went up to him and said, "Teucer, man after my own heart, son of Telamon, captain among the host, shoot on, and be at once the saving of the Danaans and the glory of your father Telamon, who brought you up and took care of you in his own house when you were a child, bastard though you were. Cover him with glory, though he is far off. I will promise, and I will assuredly perform. If Aegis-bearing Jove and Minerva grant me to sack the city of Ilios, you shall have the next best meed of honour after my own, a tripod, or 2 horses with their chariot, or a woman who shall go up into your bed." And Teucer answered, "Most noble son of Atreus, you need not urge me. From the moment we began to drive them back to Ilios, I have never ceased so far as in me lies to look out for men whom I can shoot and kill. I have shot 8 barbed shafts, and all of them have been buried in the flesh of warlike youths, but this mad dog I cannot hit." As he spoke, he aimed another arrow straight at Hector, for he was bent on hitting him. Nevertheless he missed him, and the arrow hit Priam's brave son Gorgithion in the breast. His fair mother, fair Castaneira, lovely as a goddess, had been married from Mycenae, and now he bowed his head as a garden poppy in full bloom when it is weighed down by showers in spring. Even thus heavy bowed his head beneath the weight of his helmet. Again he aimed at Hector, for he was longing to hit him, and again his arrow missed, for Apollo turned it aside. But he hit Hector's brave charioteer Archeptolemus in the breast, by the nipple, as he was driving furiously into the fight. The horses swerved aside as he fell headlong from the chariot, and there was no life left in him. Hector was greatly grieved at the loss of his charioteer, but for all his sorrow he let him lie where he fell, and bade his brother Cebriones, who was hard by, take the reins. Cebriones did as he had said. Hector thereon, with a loud cry, sprang from his chariot to the ground, and seizing a great stone, made straight for Teucer with intent to kill him. Teucer had just taken an arrow from his quiver, and had laid it upon the bowstring, but Hector struck him with the jagged stone as he was taking aim and drawing the string to his shoulder. He hit him just where the collarbone divides the neck from the chest, a very deadly place, and broke the sinew of his arm so that his wrist was less, and the bow dropped from his hand as he fell forward on his knees. Ajax saw that his brother had fallen, and running towards him bestrode him and sheltered him with his shield. Meanwhile his 2 trusty squires, Mecisteus, son of Echius, and Alastor, came up and bore him to the ships, groaning in his great pain. Jove now again put heart into the Trojans, and they drove the Achaeans to their deep trench, with Hector in all his glory at their head. As a hound grips a wild boar or lion in flank or buttock when he gives him chase, and watches warily for his wheeling, even so did Hector follow close upon the Achaeans, ever killing the hindmost as they rushed panic-stricken onwards. When they had fled through the set stakes and trench, and many Achaeans had been laid low at the hands of the Trojans, they halted at their ships, calling upon one another, and praying every man instantly as they lifted up their hands to the gods. But Hector wheeled his horse this way and that, his eyes glaring like those of Gorgo or murderous Mars. Juno, when she saw them, had pity upon them, and at once said to Minerva, "Alas, child of Aegis-bearing Jove, shall you and I take no more thought for the dying Danaans, though it be the last time we ever do so? See how they perish and come to a bad end before the onset of but a single man. Hector, the son of Priam, rages with intolerable fury, and has already done great mischief." Minerva answered, "Would indeed this fellow might die in his own land, and fall by the hands of the Achaeans. But my father Jove is mad with spleen, ever foiling me, ever headstrong and unjust. He forgets how often I saved his son when he was sworn out by the labours Eurystheus had laid on him. He would weep till his cry came up to heaven, and then Jove would send me down to help him. If I had had the sense to foresee all this when Eurystheus sent him to the house of Hades to fetch the hell-hound from Erebus, he would never have come back alive out of the deep waters of the river Styx. And now Jove hates me, while he lets Thetis have her way, because she kissed his knees and took hold of his beard when she was begging him to do honour to Achilles. I shall know what to do next time he begins calling me his grey-eyed darling. Get our horses ready, while I go within the house of Aegis-bearing Jove, and put on my armour. We shall then find out whether Priam's son Hector will be glad to meet us in the highways of battle, or whether the Trojans will glut hounds and vultures with the fat of their flesh as they be dead by the ships of the Achaeans." Thus did she speak, and white-armed Juno, daughter of great Saturn, obeyed her words. She set about harnessing her gold-bedizened steeds, while Minerva, daughter of Aegis-bearing Jove, flung her richly vesture, made with her own hands, onto the threshold of her father, and donned the shirt of Jove, arming herself for battle. Then she stepped into her flaming chariot and grasped the spear so stout and sturdy and strong with which she quells the ranks of heroes who have displeased her. Juno lashed her horses, and the gates of heaven bellowed as they flew open of their own accord, gates over which the Hours preside, in whose hands are heaven and Olympus, either to open the dense clouds that hide them or to close it. Through these the goddesses drove their obedient steeds. But Father Jove, when he saw them from Ida, was very angry, and sent winged Iris with a message to them. "Go," said he, "fleet Iris, turn them back, and see that they do not come near me, for if we come to fighting there will be mischief. This is what I say, and this is what I mean to do. I will lame their horses for them. I will hurl them from their chariot, and will break it in pieces. It will take them all 10 years to heal the wounds my lightning shall inflict upon them. My grey-eyed daughter will then learn what quarrelling with her father means. I am less surprised and angry with Juno, for whatever I say she always contradicts me." With this Iris went her way, fleet as the wind, from the heights of Ida to the lofty summits of Olympus. She met the goddesses at the outer gates of its many valleys, and gave them her message. "What," said she, "are you about? Are you mad? The son of Saturn forbids going. This is what he says, and this is what he means to do. He will lame your horses for you. He will hurl you from your chariot, and will break it in pieces. It will take you all 10 years to heal the wounds his lightning will inflict upon you, that you may learn, grey-haired goddess, what quarrelling with your father means. He is less hurt and angry with Juno, for whatever he says she always contradicts him. But you, bold hussy, will you really dare to raise your huge spear in defiance of Jove?" With this she left them, and Juno said to Minerva, "Of a truth, child of aegis-bearing Jove, I am not for fighting men's battles further in defiance of Jove. Let them live or die as luck will have it, and let Jove make out his judgments upon the Trojans and Danaans according to his own pleasure." She turned her steeds. The Hours presently unyoked them, made them fast to their ambrosial mangers, and leaned the chariot against the end wall of the courtyard. The 2 goddesses then sat down upon their golden thrones amid the company of the other gods, but they were very angry. Presently Father Jove drove his chariot to Olympus and entered the assembly of gods. The mighty lord of the earthquake unyoked his horses for him, and set the car upon its stand, and threw a cloth over it. Jove then sat down upon his golden throne, and Olympus reeled beneath him. Minerva and Juno sat alone, apart from Jove, and neither spoke nor asked him questions. But Jove knew what they meant, and said, "Minerva and Juno, why are you so angry? Are you fatigued with killing so many of your dear friends, the Trojans? Be this as it may, such is the might of my hands that all the gods in Olympus cannot turn me. You were, both of you, trembling all over ere you saw the fight and its terrible doings. I tell you, therefore, and it would have surely been, I should have struck you with lightning, and your chariots would never have brought you back again to Olympus." Minerva and Juno groaned in spirit as they sat side by side and brooded mischief for the Trojans. Minerva sat silent without a word, for she was in a furious passion, and bitterly incensed against her father. But Juno could not contain herself, and said, "What, dread son of Saturn, are you talking about? We know how great your power is. Nevertheless, we have compassion upon the Danaan warriors who are perishing and coming to a bad end. We will, however, since you so bid us, refrain from actual fighting, but we will make serviceable suggestions to the archives, that they may not all of them perish in your displeasure." And Jove answered, "Tomorrow morning, Juno, if you choose to do so, you will see the son of Saturn destroying large numbers of the Argives, for fierce Hector shall not cease fighting till he has roused the son of Peleus, when they are fighting in dire straits at their ships' sterns about the body of Patroclus. Like it or no, this is how it is decreed. For aught I care, you may go to the lowest depths beneath earth and sea, where Iapetus and Saturn dwell in lone Tartarus, with neither ray of light nor breath of wind to cheer them. You may go on and on till you get there, and I shall not care one whit for your displeasure. You are the greatest vixen living." Juno made him no answer. The sun's glorious orb now sank into Oceanus, and drew down night over the land. Sorry indeed were the Trojans when light failed them, but welcome and thrice prayed for did darkness fall upon the Achaeans. Then Hector led the Trojans back from the ships, and held a council on the open space near the river, where there was a spot clear of corpses. They left their chariots and sat down on the ground to hear the speech he made them. He grasped a spear 11 cubits long, the bronze point of which gleamed in front of it, while the ring round the spearhead was of gold. Spear in hand, he spoke. "Hear me," he said, "Trojans, Dardanians, and allies. I deemed but now that I should destroy the ships, and all the Achaeans with them, ere I went back to Iliad, but darkness came on too soon. It was this alone that saved them, and their ships upon the seashore. Now, therefore, let us obey the behests of night, and prepare our suppers. Take your horses out of the chariots, and give them their feed of corn. Then make speed to bring sheep and cattle from the city. Bring wine also, and corn for your horses, and gather much wood, that from dark to dawn we may burn watchfires whose flare may reach to heaven. For the Achaean may try to fly beyond the sea by night, and they must not embark scatheless and unmolested. Many a man among them must take a dart with him to nurse at home, hit with spear or arrow as he is leaping on board his ship, that others may fear to bring war and weeping upon the Trojans. Moreover, let the heralds tell it about the city that the growing youths and grey-bearded men are to camp upon its heaven-built walls. Let the women, each of them, light a great fire in her house, and let watch be safely kept, lest the town be entered by surprise while the host is outside. See to it, brave Trojans, as I have said, and let this suffice for the moment. At daybreak I will instruct you further. I pray in hope to Jove and to the gods that we may then drive these fate-sped hounds from our land, for 'tis the fates that have borne them and their ships hither. This night, therefore, let us keep watch, but with early morning let us put on our armour and rouse fierce war at the ships of the Achaeans. I shall know then whether brave Diomed, the son of Tydeus, will drive me back from the ships to the wall, or whether I shall myself slay him and carry off his blood-stained spoils. Tomorrow let him show his mettle, abide my spear if he dare. I ween that at break of day he should be among the first to fall, and many another of his comrades round him. Would that I were as sure of being immortal and never growing old, and of being worshipped like Minerva and Apollo, as I am that this day will bring evil to the Argives." Thus spoke Hector, and the Trojans shouted applause. They took their sweating steeds from under the yoke, and made them fast, each by his own chariot. They made haste to bring sheep and cattle from the city. They brought wine also and corn from their houses, and gathered much wood. They then offered unblemished hecatombs to the immortals, and the wind carried the sweet savour of sacrifice to heaven. But the blessed gods partook not thereof, for they bitterly hated Ilias with Priam and Priam's people. Thus, high in hope, they sat through the livelong night by the highways of war, and many a watchfire did they kindle. As when the stars shine clear and the moon is bright, there is not a breath of air, nor a peak, nor jade, nor glutting headland, but it stands out in the ineffable radiance that breaks from the serene of heaven. The stars can all of them be told, and the heart of the shepherd is glad. Even thus shone the watchfires of the Trojans before Ilias midway between the ships and the river Xanthus. 1,000 campfires gleamed upon the plain, and in the glow of each there sat 50 men, while the horses, champing oats and corn beside their chariots, waited till dawn should come.